The housing market is definitely making an adjustment or correction. The question is, are you ready?
Let's chat about that today on the WB&L Wandering But Not Lost podcast. This is the Wandering But Not Lost WB&L podcast, where real estate and reality meet. And now your hosts, Jan O'Brien and Matt Emerson. And welcome to the WB&L Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. This is episode 206. You can find all of our show notes over at WB&Lpodcast.com. Jan O'Brien, a lot going on. You made another cross-country move. Looking forward to hearing a little bit about that. Someone's very special day is tomorrow. I can't believe that it's your birthday.
I forgot about that.
Very exciting. So a lot going on. And like you said, looks like we are feeling a little market shift, which is something I think every realtor has been kind of anxiously waiting for quite some time. And kind of like pre-pandemic time. It's been 3 years.
We want to share our best stuff about what we're doing to stay. I frankly think one of the keys to success in this business is that you have to be adaptable. The market is always going to be shifting. It may take a little while for shifts to happen. But if you don't get in front of it, and if you haven't been doing certain things, which some of the things we're going to talk about today are not going to be new if you are a follower of WB&L coaching or our podcast. Right. However, it's real world right now, and I want to give you some specifics of things to get yourself. It's not too late to make the adjustment in your business, because you can't wait. A lot of real estate agents wait until things happen, Matt, until it's past us, and then they're forced to make the adjustment. So we want to be proactive. So the market is adjusting. Are you? Let's get to it.
Let's dive in.
So what do we mean by that? What are the indicators that we're seeing that show that? Now, a caveat to this, I really track the national information by following a lot of different news outlets, everything from NAR to Realtor.com to Keeping Current Matters and so on. But I think it's most important. It is important to know what's happening nationally, but you have got to know what is happening locally, and we'll get into that in a minute. So I just want to talk about briefly in the intro here, what is happening nationally. It could be different where you are, or there could be more or less of some of these things, but the thing that is definitely happening nationally is more homes are staying on the market longer. So inventory, even though people are saying there's not enough inventory, the truth is more homes the numbers show more available inventory at the end of any given reporting period. Generally, it's monthly. We track it weekly also. Sales have been slowing. Okay, why? Sales are slowing, but it's because of a couple things. Mainly interest rates, right? Interest rates have really cooled some people off from thinking about what they're, frankly, it's pushed some people out of the market that can't buy right now, or maybe they're going to stay where they are. Maybe even more sellers are considering whether or not they should put their house on the market if they, all those things are there. And obviously,
really, it's the root cause of those interest rate rises, right? It's the inflation that's happening right now, and just the cost of actually putting food on your table. So, all of those things have made people a little bit more unwary of jumping into a rather large house purchase.
Well, and they're over 5%, which historically speaking is still amazing.
But, super low, right? Yeah.
You go for a couple of years at 4% or less, and some people had refied and they're in 3s or high 2s. Then everybody's freaking out about 5%, but you got to put it in perspective. But the point is, it's over 5, and could it go higher? We won't know. We know that we have inflation. We know that that's not 100% under control, nor will it be in the short run. We know that the Fed has said they're going to move the main interest rate, which sometimes doesn't always impact. I think the mortgage industry hedges that, and they use other things. It's an opportunity to raise it. Refis are pretty much gone. People aren't refining right now. So it's changed things. Now, the big thing, and I think it's an early indicator of the housing market making corrections, is what the builders do. So there's some articles out right now that for 5 straight months, which basically since January, new home builder confidence has dropped for 5 consecutive months. Now, just last year and in the beginning of this year, but I've already seen it happen in Florida and Nevada, builders had such huge waiting lists that they were controlling everything, turning things into bidding wars. Well, just honestly, in the last 30 days, I have seen in both marketplaces, builders saying, hey, inventory has, we have these homes, first one to come in and buy it gets it. So those are indications they're having people drop out of purchases, not come in and purchase if they need to finance, and that's tied to the interest rate. Because if it's taking a year to build a home, Matt, would you want to lock yourself into buying a home not knowing exactly what the interest rate's going to be a year from now? And that is really starting to happen. And so if the builders start being less confident, they were already controlling what they were building and how much, and they were making sales, and they're, their prices have been higher than resales. They always are higher, but they've had issues with labor shortage and supply shortages, at which the cost of building a house has gone up significantly. They're passing that on to consumer. So they have to, continue to make profits. So what are they going to do? Probably start building less homes, which is hurting us. So it's kind of an interesting thing that's happening. We're seeing buyers sort of like go, well, I don't know what I want to do. There's still not enough inventory. So even when I say available homes are higher than they were, but they're not higher than what they were pre-pandemic. So it's all relative. It depends on what are we comparing it to, right? Are we comparing it to last year? Well, last year we were still recovering from the pandemic, right? So the problem we have with the new homes in the inventory is they already were behind. Now, if they start to slow it down, that's going to put pressure on inventory. And now we have even more sellers going, I don't know, I'm going to stay where I'm at. So we have this weird thing of like, maybe there's going to be more inventory, but maybe there's not. Maybe we're going to have another correction, which, that basically still says it's not like there's so many more homes. There's just more homes. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense? Because home prices are still forecasted to go up, and it's simply because there is a deceleration maybe in how quickly they're going up, but it's not like there's so much inventory and not enough buyers still.
I think that's the key right there, what we just talked about. People have been so used to these dramatic price increases quarter over quarter, and that's the thing that looks like it's probably going to adjust faster than, just this huge onslaught of inventory that's going to be coming.
Now, locally, we're definitely seeing it, and that's what we'll jump into. Okay, so that's generally what's happening. Now, you got to know what's happening that's what's happening nationally, but what's happening in your area. So how do you stay prepared always? How do you adapt now? Well, my number one thing, Matt, and I'm saying it all the time, and it's the thing I am most proud about in my pivot back to sales a few years ago, was how important it was to be the local market expert. And we've talked numerous times before. We have a lot of content over on the YouTube channel about this. But I just wanted to share, and if you are just listening, make sure you go check out the YouTube channel and get and look at these visuals if you want. But I'll try to describe what we're looking at right now, which is a weekly housing market sales activity. And this is something our good friend David Squire actually keeps updated, and he passes it on. And he's been doing this since 2018. So we have a chart, a historical spreadsheet that shows weekly numbers from how much was available inventory there was, what went under contract, and it reports for the previous time period. And it's all done through the local MLS. And it's just a thing he does every single Wednesday, and he reports it for the previous Sunday to Monday.
And this is for the Las Vegas market. We don't have that down here. So you're watching up front outside of Vegas. This is the Vegas market.
Right. And it's the point I'm making is how you become a local market expert is you look at the numbers weekly. You really look at them daily, but you need to look at them weekly. And as we've been studying this, so the key statistics are that I've hidden a couple cells because we look at expires and withdrawals, which can tell you some things, but it's mostly what's the days on market, what's the average sales prices and the median sales prices. We look at price reductions, we look at the list price to sales price ratio, not as important, but it is an indicator over time. However, the weeks of inventory and the number of new listings. This is all the data that is. If you just look at one thing, it all interrelates. You can't just look at one thing only, because you have to look at what's causing that. What are the other variables that are causing prices to go up or down, for example, or why is there more inventory? Well, just in looking at our numbers to speak to what has happened, and what I've got up on the screen is since the beginning of the year, the thing that is powerful to me is the active column. We've gone from,
no kidding,
in the beginning of the year, there was a little bit more on the market. But if we look at around February, we had about 1,800 is now up to 1,800 homes available for the previous week. This is weekly statistics, not monthly. Monthly, what I like about looking at weekly stats is you start to see the trends and then you really report on it. It's not enough to just see a couple weeks. You need to see weeks of activity to see trends. But we now have of that, right? And that one column alone starts to tell a story. We've gone from like a low of what is there? I don't have my glasses on, like 1,200 in a week to last week
3505.
35. All right, that means that tells us a lot. But now we have to go look at what's happening. Well, sales are down. So if we look at the sales column, pending under contract sales, they were steady, but they're not. They were in the 700s a few weeks ago, and now they're in the high 600s. So that's slowing down a little bit. And then we look at the listing inventory to go, was the problem because we have more homes on the market? Is that because if we just look, Matt, at actives and didn't correlate it to these other things,
right,
you don't really know the story. So the point I'm making here is you study the data. And that when you study the data, then you're able to have conversations with people and explain what's happening. And then this is just the data for the whole marketplace. Then it's different when you're in Summerlin versus this area because maybe it's a hotter market, right? So you have to know the, you have to know what's happening locally. So a couple things just to point out, like here's a stat. The national median home price in April across the country was $425,000. That was up 14.2%. But Matt, did you know that in Vegas in April, it was $475 for single family compared to $425, but that was up 26.7%.
Right.
That's what's happening in our local market. Same in Florida. It's not 16% or 14%. It's 20%, 25%. It's 45 to 50% appreciation in 2 years. That's what's happened in this market. Not every market in the country. So you have to be able to know that. Condos and townhomes gone up 35% year over year in April. The median sales price was $275. Now, but then you can be able to talk about why, because more people are moving to that. That becomes a more affordable property, and therefore there's not enough inventory, and it's sold more. And so anyway, that starts to tell the story. So how do you become the local market expert? There's only one way. You have to study the numbers. And I'm suggesting that you start a weekly report. You can actually go back and do the numbers for the last. You can start for the beginning of the year. You just simply put the data in, and there's ways to do it. And probably should do a tutorial on that for like Matrix to help people. But it's a lot of work, and so people don't necessarily want to do it. And so you kind of generally know. The average agent generally knows what's going on, but they really don't know. And if you do this one thing, this can change everything. And I'm spending some time on it because I'm going to talk about what do you do with this knowledge. And if you don't have the comfort level of this, then you can't do what I'm going to talk about in a minute.
It really is one of the greatest reports ever. Right.
Thank you, David Squire. Shout out to you.
I know, no kidding. Except for, what, David, at some point we're going to teach you how to sort that differently. So that's
I know. I left it the way he does it, but I won't have him come on we need to hire him. We need to get him to come in and do a podcast with us and talk about some things that he's seeing in his coaching. Okay, idea. Great. So that's number one. Number two, now you've got to here's two things. The next two things I'm going to talk about. What is the script that you need to start thinking about? I don't really like to use the word script, but what's the dialogues and what's the conversations you're going to have with both sellers and buyers? So number two, this is going to be the big thing, guys. You go out and take listings now, and you are going to have to be so good at understanding those numbers and helping the seller understand what their friend did 2 months ago is not what's happening now. Because when somebody now, a lot of people were waiting and they're waiting to see until it gets onto the top of the market, or they have individual circumstances why they couldn't sell last year, 6 months ago, 2 months ago. But now they're hoping that they still can get multiple offers, $30,000 above appraised value. And as time goes by, that's going to go away. And the problem is they're talking to their neighbor who got so much more, and they're going to blame it on you, or they're going to say, in other words, don't take responsibility for the fact that, you didn't sell then. But people are people. And they're like, some people be realistic and go, wow, I waited too long. Yep. But this is what's going to start happening. And you've got to be strong at telling people we have to price it right. You always have to price it right, okay? Doesn't matter what the market is. But this is what I predict is going to happen, and why we're going to see the time on the market increase and the months of supply of inventory. It's agents not able to effectively communicate and educate their sellers that their price is too high. So what's going to convince a seller their price is too high? time on the market, the fact that they're now 30 days without an offer, 60 days without an offer, which is really bad all around. So expectations, it's new conversations with sellers. Last year, it was like, wow, let's get it on the market. We're going to have to negotiate multiple offers. I'm not saying that that's still not going to happen, because what sells quickly still is pristine properties that are renovated. Nobody wants to do renovations. Properties that have look great are still going to get a lot, more looks.
Top dollar.
But your average person that hasn't done all that, and they're selling their home that was built in 1990, but they never really did any renovations, they're going to have to get real about their price. There's going to be more competition, fewer bidding wars, and they need to get ready for sellers to start asking for concessions and closing costs. Okay? It's going to start happening. It's going to get more and more as time goes by, which brings us to 3, which is the buyer. Now, if you're a buyer and you're working with a buyer, now we have an opportunity to say, there's more houses to choose from. Maybe we're going to be in a position where a seller is completely not in charge and is going to look at your FHA financing. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you're willing to come in and offer a fair list price. Another issue that might start happening, Matt, if this continues to happen, is price. Appraisers are using prices from the previous 30 to 60 days. So if we start seeing some prices adjust and flatten, a house could appraise for more than what it sells for in the near future. Well, that's an opportunity for a buyer to be able to maybe come in and pay. Now, I'm not saying pay over appraised value, but not try to come in and say, well, you're listed for $480. I want it $470, and I want you to cover $10,000 in closing costs. We're not there. We're not there for a long time. But maybe you come in at $480, it appraises $485 or $490. You have some equity, but you got closing costs, and then maybe you can get your buyer's costs covered, but perhaps you could get your buyer to buy their interest rate down with those costs so they can afford the house. These are the things that you need to be up to speed with. Now you need to talk to your lender about what are the opportunities, what are some creative ways to package a transaction so the buyer can qualify because the interest rates are a little bit higher. You got me? So you got to know all this. So this is knowing the market, knowing our industry, and knowing what's happening so that you have different conversations with and you set expectations, but it's going to be a road. And I mean, if you're not strong going in there to take a listing and say, I'm sorry, but 3 months ago, we could have done that. Or your home is not this property that has been completely renovated. And so on. We're not in that category. We're over in this category. It's a nice home, but it needs to be priced, accordingly. And if we're overpriced, you're going to sell the competition. So this is where you really have to dig into your market analysis and know it. And finally, to me, Matt's comment, this is your immediate comment when I was talking about let's cover this today. Yep. You're like, more inventory means more open houses, which is a huge opportunity. And to that point, I have relocated from Florida back to Nevada effective 2 days ago. I arrived on the 1st of June. So June 1st I'm back. I just basically took a 1.5 year long stay in another marketplace and got some business going there. But I'm back, and I'm doing an open house tomorrow. John and Katie on our team have a $750,000 home. They've been holding it open. I'm going to hold it tomorrow. And because I'm going to go meet some people.
Because you know what, we talk about this all the time too on our podcast and in our materials, that we really strongly believe that you should always be working on your business and not just working in your business. And open house, for all of you naysayers saying they're a waste of time, is the perfect time to multitask your business as you are sitting there waiting for clients to come through. Prospecting, you can follow up with client calls, you can do your admin work, you can do social media, you can even film a couple videos while you're sitting at the open house for crying out loud.
I'll be doing that if nobody's
a lot of opportunity there not to be wasting time that actually forces you to work on your business and while you're in it. So open houses, even if you're a naysayer, give it a try.
And open houses, I love it, Matt. You can be open for business at an open house because you can meet people, but that is like no distractions. You could get all those other busy things done that you're going to not do because you're wherever else.
That's right.
So, all right. So that is the opportunities and what you need to do to make that pivot if you haven't. And now that you're feeling really good about all of that and you feel confident, because honestly, Matt, this is the issue for a lot of real estate agents. They don't feel confident why they don't go do the prospecting or put themselves in that position because they're not 100% comfortable about answering questions people have in a changing market or any market. Well, then you have to do it. I mean, if you're going to stay in this business, you got to do the first part we just talked about. You have to be on it all the time. It's a daily thing. It's not, there's so many more things. Go watch our other videos. You're getting information from trusted sources. You're staying on top of it. You're just immersed in it. This is what we do. This is what you have to do. The average person, unfortunately, that's doing this business, the average person, this is why they do average or below average production, is not willing to go that extra mile to stay on top of it. They're just making it happen because it's not difficult sometimes just to get a buyer and seller together. The work that you'll do more for your clients on either side when you are that expert. Okay, so then if you have the confidence that I'm talking about here, then you can go turn it into ways to demonstrate that you are the local market expert. And these are the key ways to do it. These are the ways we do it. This is what we're finding works for us. And we always do a monthly newsletter. It's the way to stay at least one touch with your own database, the people you've worked with before, the people that know you, and all the people that you're currently meeting. You can showcase your expertise because you're showing them your market update. You're providing stats. You're talking about stuff that's happening locally. That's, to me, a given. You got to do it. You got to put it into your schedule. Okay. When you hold more open houses, because there are opportunities with increasing inventory, make sure your marketing material showcases that you do that. So whether that's something on your business card or some flyer that says, hey, subscribe, to our various channels on social media because this is what we do. You can follow along. People like to follow along and then contact you when they're ready. They don't want to be sold. They want to be in charge, but you do want to be able to provide value. So if I say, here's a copy of the newsletter that we send, just is how our clients like to be updated. Let's get your mailing. Let's add you to our mailing list, or follow us over on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or wherever you are, because here's the kind of content. But have something to have people realize that they can do that and get them connected with you right then and there in the open house. Okay, so that's your best opportunity to grab people and showcase your expertise by talking to people about what's happening in the market. So now, obviously, I always will say this. I'm about to reach back out to my people that I know here that are not real estate agents. The majority of my database here is people that are in the business, but I do have maybe 20 people that aren't realtors that I want to let know I'm here. I'm going to reach out to them and let them know I'm here, and I'm going to talk to them about the market. And I'm going to talk to them about, do you know what the value of your home is? And has anything changed for you? Or do you know of anybody that's thinking of buying or selling? I need to get back in front of my people. And that's what I'm going to be doing to find buyers, to find investors, to get referrals again. A great opportunity for you to go back to your people right now and just go, wow, the market's shifting. Did you know? Because because maybe you've got people that are sitting on the fence thinking, I'm going to time it a little bit and then I'm thinking of selling. You don't want to scare people. It's not like I want to call and go, Matt, I think we're at the top of the market. If you're thinking of selling, you better do it now before it shifts. You don't know for sure exactly. None of us knows exactly what's going to happen. We're just watching the trends. And then I think it's all about your social media channel of choice. Okay. And you have to lead with video, and video. And you don't want to hire one of these services where other people post your stuff for you, or you hire someone else to do it. If you're going to use a social media outlet as one of your main ways to get the information out about you being a local market expert, then guess what? You're the star of the show. You have to be the one that's talking about it. And the best way to do it is video. And I don't care what your choice is, your channel of choice. Cosmo and I are marketing together, and ours is TikTok right now. We use YouTube for long form, and we do long form, and our channel has generated business for us. We're finding that we are connecting with more people on TikTok because we understand what we're supposed to do, and it's 3 to 4 posts per day, period, end of story. You cannot get on you can't do on any of these, Facebook, Instagram. So stories, and I'm talking about, you can do post also, but if you're not, you're missing the boat if you're not doing videos that talk about the market, but also talk about like these tips that I just shared today. All of that information I just shared today, bits of that could be turned into the consumer-facing version of that, and you're providing some daily tips, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Facebook stories, or their shorts or lives. I think lives are great if you have a following. Instagram Reels, it's your opportunity. But honestly, don't even waste your time on social media. I'm really serious about this if you're not committed to it. And this is why you can't do it all. You got to pick a channel. Doesn't mean you can't remarket. You repurpose your content. So we're not even taking advantage of that because it takes so much time. We do TikTok, and then we'll do YouTubes, and we have it all scheduled in so that we're trying to do a video a week. but TikTok is 3 to 4 times a day. In the big picture, our perfect solution would be to take the TikToks that we're already doing and then repurposing them, putting them on Facebook and Instagram, really on Instagram, because we have a little bit more of a following there. But that is where people, and this is what's happening to us on TikTok, just to give you an example. So we have people all the time reach out to us now because we've grown to, we're almost to 6,000 followers now, and we're interacting. We understand how to, it's all about getting people to make comments and then answering the comments in videos and just building that audience. By the way, 3 or 4 years ago, we would have said the same thing about Instagram. That's what you have to do. You have to start a dialogue and you have to communicate and you have to build rapport. Just TikTok's the hot thing and there's so many people on it, and even average, age of people on TikTok has increased in the last year. There's a huge opportunity there, but don't even think that Jan's saying like, I'm telling you some success we're having on TikTok, but it's only because we are really working hard at it. But if we started a channel and then posted once a week, forget it. No one's ever going to find you. No one's ever.
What you were saying, as far as, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That was what
I was going to say. The repurposing of the videos, though, is something that you could actually delegate to an admin, because you don't have to be the one that actually does that. So if you have someone that you're working with, an assistant, or someone that's doing some of your admin work, they could absolutely work on that part of your social media.
So just in a short amount of time, and we haven't been as 100% committed to it because I've been transitioning and from Florida to Vegas. I came out here for 3 weeks and we worked on it. We tested it. Cosmo and I knew that if we had a schedule, and the key for us on social media and TikTok and specifically early morning, we've made a commitment that we're going to go do it earlier than any time we would be working with a buyer or seller so we can get the content out. And then we spend time in the follow-up. So our day has to be structured that there's new content every day, and it's strategic, and we have already tested and we know what works for us. And then we have to do follow-up and direct messaging. And the algorithm is constantly changing in all of these, and TikTok is no different. And it's gone from this way to now it's friends, and they can't see you. Anyway, you have to stay on top of all of this. But if you enjoy creating content, then choose your channel, and that is the best way to showcase. Because we're getting like, wow, I've been watching your stuff. Thank you so much. I'm ready to work with you. We've had at least 5 consultations. We have people coming in this month, next month, that are coming that we just met on TikTok, right? So I'll be happy to continue to report when we have our first sale, which is coming. It's like all things. If I was farming, it would take me 3 to 6 months to start having success. The key to any lead generation or lead pillar is consistency, quality content, and showcasing that what you're talking about. So people can, this is proving to me that people are starting to know, like, and trust us because of the consistency and the content we're posting. Because we can see it in the comments, and we can see it in the, can I talk to you? Can you be my realtor? Okay. So it works, but only if you are confident and you know your stuff and you're staying ahead of the market, and it's just powerful, and it's kind of fun. So I'm happy to be back, Matt Emerson.
Good stuff today, John Bryan. We will keep you all posted as we continue to watch the market shifting, because we're going to be watching it every single day to keep you up to date on what's going on too. So, hey, Jan, your road trip. Tell me what was the highlight of your road trip? Do you have a couple highlights you can share?
Yes.
I'm jonesing for a road trip.
Honestly, because it was mostly interstates, but the way I decided to go was coming up out of Florida. So we took some of the state highways. So these are some of the observations that I had along the way. If you haven't experienced a Buc-ee's, you have to stop at a Buc-ee's. Okay. Right? Do you know Buc-ee's?
I do not.
Oh my God, Matt. Well, if you're they're mostly in Texas, but they now are showing up in other parts of like the southeast. But Buc-ee's is that a mega travel center, got a little Beaver. You can't miss them. I mean, they're all around Texas. But it's an event to go into a Buc-ee's. Okay, it is like it's not just like your normal, like a Love's. There's a lot of Love's as you go across, or some of those other travel centers where the truckers and stuff come in. So people come and stop and I think local people go there because it's like they are making barbecue. You can get everything. It's like I can't even explain to you. It was like going into an REI meets because there's all this gear and Yukon and camping stuff, and everything has the Buc-ee logo on it.
So it's like going to the Bass Pro Shop.
It's like that, but only in travel locations along major highways.
That's
So
cool.
you got to go to a Buc-ee's. They have the cleanest restrooms. They actually have, and so does Love's. Love's has a thing that you can immediately, as you're going out of the restroom, go rate the cleanliness of this room, of this, like red, green, like a stoplight.
They have that at
Red.
the Atlanta airport.
That because you need a clean restroom when you're traveling.
Yeah.
So there was that. The state roads. The other thing I recognize is how many Dollar Generals and Family those things are. Okay, they are everywhere. They're everywhere, and so much so that we looked it up, and it was like, did you know that there's 16,000 stores?
Wow.
And they're everywhere, and I think it's become a thing. I'm like, how many Family Dollars or Dollar Generals can there be? It's a joke out here, but they're here, but they're everywhere. But we mainly just traveled, and we had decent weather, but we hit some wind. And as far as road trip traveling, I got the one side trip in. I got to go to Sedona. But we were on a mission to get across country, and you definitely need a travel buddy when you're going because it's like too much on your own. Definitely needed a side trip. The side trip was the best thing because it let us, recover after 8-9 hours of driving and stopping and all that. Gas prices definitely go up as you go west. We started out around in Florida at $4.50. The cheapest gas I found was someplace in, I think outside of Texas, maybe. Actually, it might have been New Mexico, $3.89. I got gas for $3.89 one time. But it was mostly $4.20, right around $4.14 to $4.20. We didn't hit fives until we hit Nevada. And I'm sure it's higher where you are. I mean, I was like, $5. I go to fill up here. I'm like, $5.30 for gas? What?
So, I know in Vegas, because it never used to be that much different in Vegas. That's crazy.
But anyway, it was good. It's it's nice. I don't mind driving. You don't either, right? So
I love it. It's my favorite thing. That's the journey. The journey is often better than the destination.
If I'd had a little more time, I probably would have put a few more things in. But in a way, I took 6 days. We had planned 4.5 days. Took an extra day, but I'm glad you made it home safely. That's awesome. You got a big birthday coming up tomorrow, so happy early birthday. Let me be the first to actually. I'm not the first to wish you that because I think you've been celebrating your birthday for like 2 weeks now. So good for you. Well, I did an early with the family before I left. So
that's awesome.
All right, everybody, make the adjustments, get in front of it, and go get some business.
I have something to leave us with today that I want you to really think about. I found this online just yesterday, as a matter of fact. It really, really hit me. I sent it to I did actually send it to my wife. I texted it to my wife, although she was right there. But we talked about it, and she's like, wow, that is... Because with everything that's been going on lately, and my sweet bee's a school teacher, it's been a little nerve-wracking in schools, right? So I'm going to leave you with this today. If a child is hitting people with a stick, I would blame the child and not the stick. However, I would still take the stick away. So on that note, everyone, get out there, be forever wandering but not lost, and we will see you next week.